Fabrizio said before the season ended that our main target was a centre-back who, could it be Collins, would be a bit disappointing from an Irishman. I don't think Collins will be at all disappointing, to be honest with you. Now, on Collins, I believe that we'll only move for him if Canade gets sold. And we'll talk about the Canade situation in a little bit. But I've been spending my time over the last couple of hours, Aaron, looking into, Nathan Collins' background. And one thing that I can say that I did find out, of course, is he counts as homegrown. So that would be one major boost. He's had a career in the Premier League before his Liverpool career, which we know Liverpool like to look at players who've, been tested before their moves to Liverpool. He's 24 years of age, so he's right in the sweet spot for a centre-back. Homegrown, as I've mentioned, and wouldn't be astronomical money, but still would be good money. I think if my memory's right, Brentford paid about 23 million quid when they signed him, so I would imagine you're talking about 50 million pound upwards. But for me, I would take Nathan Collins. Honestly, looking around the Premier League centre-backs, Nathan Collins for me would be a more than able deputy or candidate to come in and play alongside Virgil if the worst came to the worst and we lost Canade. Would you take Collins at Liverpool if Canade was to leave? Yes, no, or unsure? Do you know what? Initially, I kind of laughed it off. But the more I've thought about it, and again, I'm Irish, so I could be biased here, I would take Collins at Liverpool. I know he's not the sexiest name you're ever going to see thrown out there, but he's a damn good defender. He's a big fella. He's Premier League tried and tested, and he's 24. For me, that ticks a lot of boxes. The fact he's homegrown as well would really help. So, yeah, I'd be all right on that one, honestly. I'm really concerned about the centre-back situation. I've said this numerous times over the course of this transfer window so far. It's the area of the pitch that concerns me the most. Barry said, surely Collins can't be linked, not good enough for Liverpool. He's absolutely linked. Multiple newspapers, England and Ireland, have a little look at it. And I honestly think it's very easy to just say not good enough because he's not a sexy foreign name. But I tell you what, I rate Nathan Collins. I do. I strongly rate Nathan Collins. He has a lot of the attributes that Liverpool would look for. He was ever present last year in the Premier League. He played every single game for Brentford in the Premier League last season. They've just changed manager as well. Spurs have been linked with moving from. So honestly, I think there could be a little bit of, not arrogance, but, a little bit of his name's Nathan Collins is not a sexy name. He's a damn good defender. And I honestly think it would be an astute piece of business if we lost Canade. And on Canade, let me talk about him for a second, because this piece earlier on from Sport Pete said, Ibrahima Canade could leave Liverpool in the coming weeks as contract talks have collapsed. The club want to resolve the defender's future this summer with only 12 months remaining on his deal and will not risk a repeat of the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation. So as I said, it will be if Canade leaves. If Canade stays, I don't believe Liverpool move for Nathan Collins, no. But if Canade goes, we have to do something. And remember, we've always said that in this window, Liverpool have to keep an eye on the homegrown situation. So one of the first things I checked when Nathan Collins' name came up was he counted as homegrown? And yes, he is. So that's another plus in his column. Not to be a downer, but the centre-back situation concerns me. Virgil's the only centre-back guaranteed to be in the squad next season. Homegrown quota is also one to watch with the departures. Yeah, like I said, Matthew, Collins falls into the homegrown category, so that is one tick in the box. Good defender, but unsure about his pace. Canade is big and rapid. Again, I'm sure Liverpool will have statistics into all of that kind of stuff, but what we can say about Nathan Collins is, like I've mentioned, Premier League tested, pretty much bulletproof in the injury count, played every game last season. Wouldn't be an astronomical fee, but and was also homegrown. So there are certainly pluses and minuses, but I still think we need to keep an eye on other situations like Joe Gomez as an example. If we lose him, well, then we're going to have to bring in another one. And look, I would say if you lost Joe Gomez, Jarell Hatter would be the ideal one to bring in there. Multiple positions be able to be played across the back line, young and developing and versatile, like I've just mentioned. So lots of exciting stuff. But look at my smile. Like, as a Liverpool fan right now, it just feels like I'm walking on cloud nine. I prefer Van de Ven for the third option, but that ship has sailed. There's no way we're getting Mickey Van de Ven now. He's a Spurs player. They're in the Champions League and they've got a new coach. And also, he does have injury concerns. As brilliant a player as he is, and my God, he's lightning quick. He has his own injury concerns as well. Murillo's a good shout as well, Frank, but again, you're talking big money. I think about 70, 80 million for Murillo. Honestly, I've fallen into the trap before of being a snob about some signings and some names that we've been linked with. And remember Andy Robertson. Not one of us thought when we signed Andy Robertson that we were signing somebody who we'd be here talking about as a legend. You know, I have absolute faith in the recruitment team that if they say Nathan Collins has the stats to indicate he's the one, they've got my vote. But again, it's not a done deal. So what about Gay? He'd be a left-sided centre-back, more so, if I'm not mistaken. And again, like we said, one of the concerns Liverpool apparently had about him was his lack of aerial prowess or aerial dominance. Right, Dan. Excuse me, Dan. Thank you, Dan, as well, by the way. My concern with buying a defender is Liverpool's high line. Pace, strong in the air, and a great reading of the game for me is paramount when deciding who we buy. I couldn't agree more, Dan. I think everything you've said there, mate, is spot on. Pace, absolutely. One thing we don't have to look for now in the right-sided centre-back if we need one is, of course, covering you-know-who, because, well, we'll have proper full-backs now. But look, everything you've said, Dan, I agree with, and all of those things are very important to the way that we play. But I do trust the lads to have the correct information and stats to hand to get the right candidate. What can I tell you about Collins? He comes from a good footballing family here in Ireland anyway, as was mentioned by a contributor earlier on. His father and his uncle both played at a good level. Came through at a top club in Dublin, Cherry Orchard, one of the biggest clubs in Dublin District Schoolboy League, and has earned his way up to the move that he's gotten. I think it was the Wolves he was at before he went to Brentford. They paid, I think, a club record £23 million when they signed him. And I think he's proved himself in the Premier League. Played every single game last year, 38 games in the league for Brentford. So for me, I was a little bit surprised when I first seen it, but the more I've thought about it as the days gone on, the more I understand it, especially after researching the fact that he's homegrown and he's 24, you know. I could see a world where it happens if we lose Canada, and I wouldn't be against it at all. Was the captain of Stoke at 18 too. There you go. Didn't know that, Carl, thank you. Yeah, didn't know that, mate. So obviously good leadership skills there as well. And, you know, I'm Irish, so having an Irish player potentially come into Liverpool is only a good thing for me. You know, this is the stuff I dream about. I want Irish players playing for Liverpool Football Club. Charlie Knox said, Nathan Collins, no thanks. I think snobbery, Charlie, personally. I do, mate, but ultimately it's your decision or my decision. Our thoughts don't really matter on it. I guess it'll come down to the recruitment team. I do think, and look, I'm not slagging you when I say it's snobbery, because I've definitely been in this situation before where I've looked at a signing and gone, oh, really? You know, it's not a sexy sounding foreign name, but I think it'll be a clever piece of business personally, but we may never find out, or hey, maybe we do.